some of the farming possibilities. And this constituency, Sir Hylton, have a lot of potential. We have a lot of rivers. We are in the Blue Mountain belt, Blue Mountain coffee. Yes. In this area. This area have a lot of underutilized lands. In fact, one of the biggest shows Dr. Hylton used to be held in West Portland, used to call it Penthouse Crystal Springs Family Fun Day. Every 1st of January, everybody from all over Jamaica used to journey to Western Portland. You remember we used to have a next place called Nature's Way. Now let me just tell you one thing before I call the next speaker. When we talk about entertainment zone, we're not talking about a open space. We are talking about a space that will come with permanent stage, will come with bathroom facility, will come with different areas, so you can have your dance over there, so you can have conference over there, so. And we intend to put in what is called in the film industry sound stage in this entertainment zone. So not as Dr. Hylton spoke a while ago, we went to look at the entertainment zone of Port Royal. And all that it is a space. That's not what we mean when we talk about an entertainment zone. It is going to be a multi-purpose area. Yeah? You can have weddings there. Same time you might have in a big dance. Yeah? So when you rent that entertainment zone, you don't have to bring more than the entertainers and the music. It will come with sound barriers that it don't disturb people outside the zone. Yeah? So understand that the people with the vision know the fine print, but the people who copies the vision don't know the detail. So they hear Damien talk about an entertainment zone, so then just say, yeah man, so one place to keep dance. The business people in West Portland have been struggling. The economy in Portland in general is dead. And that's one of the reasons why MP Anthony Hylton is here this evening. Because we want to hear about investment, trade, and he is the father of global logistics in Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Hey, hold on there. Hold on. Simon, now, put your hands together for the Deputy Shadow Minister of Agriculture and former Mayor of Morant Bay, Councillor of the White Horses Division. And this is the man who met James Roberts and make a white and green cake. And a washed onion. We're going to give him some time to break, so we're going to the man who knows about logistics. And when you hear the Prime Minister have to stand up and recognize that this man is the man to deal with global logistics, because that is also one of the big things that will help to grow Jamaica's economy. Please put your hands together and make welcome to West Portland, Comrade Anthony Hylton. Comrades, good evening. Good evening. I'm saying comrades, but I also recognize that there are persons here that are neither comrades or anything else politically, but they are West Portlanders.
Yes.
And they're business people. So we welcome them as well. I want to at the outset, in acknowledging my fellow panelists, the mayor, former mayor, the candidate for Western St. Thomas that I once represented, and my birthplace. And I want to recognize Dr. Hylton, and of course have a special recognition for your candidate for Western Portland
They say a lot of West. Western Portland come with Doreen. Doreen. Yes. You're not standing. You have to acknowledge. Come with Doreen Campbell. And of course, our moderator, the one and only Shaka Fee. Let me say at the outset that today's event, it may be small physically, but as you've heard, it is being broadcast widely. But it's an important event, and I want to commend the candidate for putting on such an event. Because this election is not simply a vote for whomever. You really should have a reason. And you need to have a reason why you're supporting whomever. And you need to decide on the candidate that can make your dreams, your aspirations a reality. You really need to do that. You're born that and you just won't vote because your granny used to vote in a particular way. That's not unimportant, but it cannot be the only thing. You really do need now to ask and answer the question, who is best able, first of all, who best understand your challenges, your concerns, and who is best able to make you realize those dreams, those hopes, and those aspirations. That matters. It matters. I'll address a couple of things. The matter of growth has been discussed, mentioned here a couple of times. I'm going to talk about growth, but I also want to talk about development, because it's possible to have growth without development. But if you have development, you must have growth. But there's a matter of the quality of the growth and development. The sustainability of it is important, very important, because in this era of climate change and carbon emission, not everything you do, if you don't plan it properly, will be sustained. You should also make sure that the growth and the development is resilient, meaning that you recognize that events will happen to disrupt your growth, and unless you plan and think about it, you may not be able to continue in business. We have been thinking about all of those things. I should say at the beginning that some persons have said to me, well, why you served in the last government in pretty much the same ministry, industry, investment, and commerce. Why are you going back to the same ministry? Why don't you try another ministry? The answer is simple. We have unfinished business. It's unfinished because it is recognized now. The Prime Minister has said it, as Shaka Fame said. He had to admit that the paternity of the logistic hub is not in doubt anymore. We don't need no DNA test. That is very, very clear. And he had to acknowledge it because his government, when they were in opposition and when they just went into government, rather than embracing it and running with what we left on the table. And we didn't just leave an idea on the table. We left a blueprint on the table. We left an actual plan. It wasn't just a vision. It wasn't an idea. It was a plan that was left. Who did the plan? The plan was done by no other institution than the World Bank. We had the World Bank spend over 2 years developing a plan. And the plan arrived after we left office, because those things take some time. It arrived in Jamaica after we left office. It was consulted on and was presented to the government, the new government, the no government. It was presented to them in 2017. We left office in 2016. It was presented in 2017. The cabinet approved the document. The cabinet approved the document. But then what did they do? They proceeded to do very little with that document. Of course, until a couple of months ago, once election, they started focus on the election. Then all of a sudden, the logistic hub was now the project of the moment. Let me say this. We can respect our people some of the time.
That's right.
We have to be serious about our people's lives, the quality of their life, because macroeconomics is important. I'm not saying it's not important. It is important. But that's not the reason why we practice sound politics or sound economics. These are practiced for people, for the benefit of people. People must be the center of what we do. And I put it to you that if you believe what I'm saying, and you can check that out very easily, because all of this is being taped, and you can go and check it out. My point is this. You cannot know in 2025 saying you are pivoting to growth. What were you doing all along? You can't say you are choosing Jamaica. Then who were you choosing before? I'm not going to make any assertion, but you ask and answer that question. Who were you choosing before? So, on the growth strategy, we are serious about growth, not as a concept. We are serious about growth because it matters to people's lives. If the economy does not grow, it means it stagnates.
That's right.
And if it's a stagnant economy is what a lot of you are feeling right now.
Yeah.
Pain. Because you can't earn, and you grow, what you earn is not commensurate with or consistent with what your basic needs are,
Right.
and you can't fulfill your basic needs. In a growing economy, it looks different and it feels different. So as I drive through Buff Bay these days, I know the economy not working in Buff Bay.
Right.
Because I used to feel and look different. When I come through Buff Bay, it's pure activity. I used to see the place full of cars, everything, people moving, there's a hustle, there's a bustle, there's an energy in the place. That's not what I see and feel these days. So we have to be focused on growth. And we are focused on growth. And the way you can tell is because we have the plans in place. And the plans is a myriad of things. It's not just what Tony Hylton says. It's about what the agricultural spokesperson says. It's about what the cultural and creative industry spokesperson says. It's about what the tourism spokesperson says. It's about what the sports spokesperson says, and it's about what the education spokesperson said. It's a whole of government approach. You have to look at the plans that the government has, the overall plan, because it's like making a cake. When you're baking cake for Christmas time, right? You have to get all the ingredients, and you put it in. And if you don't put it in the right mix in the right proportion, the cake not taste good. Sometimes you take it out of the oven and it just drop flat. Right? And it will look like Christmas cake. It look like total and taste like total. So you have to decide what you're baking. If you have baked cake, you have to get the right ingredient. If you have baked total, you have to get another set of ingredient. We intend to be growth into the Jamaican economy and sustainable growth. Very important. So, what are the elements? We've heard about all of the spokesperson there. Party leader, when he spoke at length about a range of specific matters, policies, institutions. All of those things are part of the cake mix, the growth cake matter. Right? The growth cake mix. You have to put some institutional development, some institutional strengthening. You have to put some policy mix. You have to put some programs, and you better have some plans, right, you can move forward. Because if you fail to plan, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And this is what has been happening. That's why they fail on this 5 in 4, something that they're running around talking about. That you're going to have 5% growth in 4 years. They've not had 2% growth. In fact, they have 1% growth for a short while. Last year they had negative growth. Negative. Now, when you hear the term negative growth, maybe think, well, what is that? That is what you feel. You feel that nothing is happening. You're not earning. And then inflation ravaged the little that you earn, meaning that the cost of things just gone up. And we went through that. No. What is my portfolio focus? My portfolio focus is on trade, investment, global logistics. Let me just say something about investment. And I want to talk about whatever I have to say today. I want to focus my remarks on West Portland, but also the region. Because part of that growth is going to happen by focusing on the region itself, the Portland region. Because there are some things that can develop here in West Portland that will benefit East Portland and the region. And equally, there are some things that will be developed in East Portland that can benefit West Portland. So there's a synergy. You have to look at the region in a synergistic way, how they can work together, fit together to drive growth and development. So when Chaka Field talk about the island, Gavy Island, we don't have more than one Gavy Island in this part of the region. We don't need two back to. We need to develop the one we have. And develop it in a way that benefits all of the region. Portland and St. Thomas and beyond. Mary and beyond, and the entire country. So that's how we see development. We want to look at what are the assets that you have in Portland, east and west, and in the region, that if we develop those can become engines of growth. They can drive growth. So that's the sense in which I want to talk about the region. Buff Bay, I hear and listen very intently to a citizen of Buff Bay and a leader in his own right. And we are very interested in those community spaces and the community assets that you have in these areas. Because that's, you see, when you plan from Kingston, sometimes you plan on a macro level. And you see growth in macro terms, meaning high level growth. You have to touch the ground, you have to come down to the ground. And I'm pleased to hear, and this is the view from the party, which has always been a party that focuses on community development. We've shifted focus after the 70s a little bit. We have to go back to the space, because that's where you find the nuggets of development. And we have to focus on that and to do what I call a map. You have to map the entire country. And what are the critical assets that the country has. Now, let me say something about investment. To have growth, investment is a key component of growth. And investment from local people or local business people, investment from the government, and investment of a kind we call FDI, foreign direct investment. And you have social investment. That is, you use assets and you go about it in different ways. But investment is critical. And as Minister of Investment, as I was and will be, again, what I can tell you, we did it before and we'll do it again. When we left office in 2016, and you can check the record, I'm stating this for the record. When we left office in 2016, we had taken investment to nearly $1 billion US. It's there, nearly $1 billion US. Last year and the previous year, I'm not even talking about the previous year, they can blame COVID. But before COVID, and 3 years after COVID, the most they got up to last year was $200 million US. Maybe 300, not more than that. Not more than 300 million. Now, when you get an investment with that disparity at nearly 1 billion and then 300 million, you're bound to feel it because it reflects in the economy and the state of the economy. Nothing now go on, or very little are going on. More importantly, how are we going to drive investment? Investment begins by sound policies. Investment begins, and the sound policies, as I said, are mixed. It's not one thing. The education and training, you have to have the workers. You have to deal with social issues like crime. And let me say something about crime, briefly. I'm not the spokesperson on security, but I know what's going on, and I know how it affects investment. Remember this. This administration is going around preening every day. They say, oh, crime reduced every day. We welcome any reduction in crime. Any and every reduction in crime, because crime is no respecter of persons. So we welcome it. But I'm bound to ask the question. Why take you so long? Why? You know the answer? Because they started out on the wrong foot with these states of emergencies. And we warned them at the time. We said, this thing is not working. You're just pressuring all kinds of people. You're locking down business places. And none of the big businesses were affected. I would submit that they benefited. It was the small businesses in the towns and in the areas that were at these curfew that suffered. Suffered. And it was the youths mainly, particularly in the inner city communities of the kind that I represent. Parts of it, anyway. Places like Waterhouse, Seaview, Riverton, and those places. And a number of them lost their jobs. They were just picked up and thrown into jail. On suspicion. And after weeks, sometimes months, they were then let out, not charged. But by the time they would have lost their jobs. Listen, their life, it would have changed their lives. These are life-changing experiences. If you're a young man who has never been thrown into a jail, and then all of a sudden, you know you're not involved in a wrongdoing, you may be able to see you at a place, and then just say, well, we are going to so late, and then throw in a jail. Because they have the power. This is what the state of emergency gave them. The power to do those things. And we said to them, change that. Because you are negatively affecting lives. Both business people and ordinary people. And they persisted in that. We had to take them to court. How many of you remember we had to take them to the Constitutional Court? Yes, sir. Yeah. They said what you're doing is wrong. And after we kept at them, and then they decided, well, Alright, so they're not going to let off. So we're not going to let up. So we going to change. And we said, and we told them what they should change to. Because they told us that they were spending billions in technology to gather data and to do better intelligence gathering. And we say, yes, that's what we support. Better intelligence gathering. So rather than doing net fishing, where you just throw one net over the entire community and drag everybody in the net, we want to do spear fishing, where you identify who the violence producers are and go after them without disrupting the lives of everybody else. And that's what they're saying they're doing now, and that's what is producing the result. We're happy for it, but I'm saying it is 3 years or 4 years, more than that. It is about 5 years too late, or 7 years too late. But we have before it. We'll take it. But you should never forget. You should never forget. Because a lot of lives were lost in that period. They temporize, they dawdle, they do all kind of things for 7, 8 years. And it's only in the last 6 months or so, after they changed tactics to what we've been saying to them they must do, that you start seeing some result. So we are in sync with what is being done now, which is what we argued for, which is that it should be intelligence driven. Now, why that matters to me as investment minister? That matters to me a great deal, because people don't invest in crime, infested areas. So I need the crime to be reduced. And so we will continue to do what we are doing correctly to make sure it goes down and stays down. Because it's in that environment that you can then promote brand Jamaica. So what I've said to you, I made this delivery in Parliament on Tuesday, not this Tuesday, previous Tuesday. And it's in here, it's laid out fully in this document. And it will be reappearing in a manifesto that we will be putting out so soon as that is necessary. But in here, I describe a situation that we have now to look at how we market Jamaica. We have to fix our internal problem, like crime. We have to fix things like your road infrastructure for farmers and for people generally. But you have to do it in accordance with your internal logistics. Logistics matters. What is logistics? It's doing things faster, more effective, cheaper, more cost effective. If you're a businessman, you know you cannot run a business without managing your cost. If you don't do that, you're not going to stay in business too long. You have to pay attention to your cost, and logistics matters. If you're going from point A to point B, and you're not choosing the most direct or optimum route to get there, you're wasting money and you're wasting time. So when we focus on logistics, we are searching for what is the best way to get this done in the most effective, cost-effective, and the most efficient manner. And if we keep that central focus and keep asking ourselves the question, what's the best way to do it? What is the best way to do it? Then what it means is that you are managing cost. And the private sector have to do it, but the government have to help the private sector to do it. Because part of what it means is infrastructure has to be put in place. And those infrastructure, by and large, are public goods. Roads, bridges, all of those key facilities have to be put in by government. That's on the domestic side. We have some plans coming that I'm not going to disclose here tonight. I am not, because I don't know how long they intend to remain in government. But for every day they're in there, they can grab them and then tell you, say, as the Prime Minister told me, he said, well, you are the father, but I am the godfather. I I don't, it should have nothing to do with parenting. It should have nothing to do with parenting. So, I'm saying the logistic matters, but most of all, our biggest opportunity now is in global logistics. Why? I started talking about this thing from 2013. We are in 2025. We're talking about 12 years later. 12 years later, having left the plan on this desk, it was approved by the cabinet and tabled in Parliament, but never debated. People were asked for debate. No. Because if you debate it, they know they don't understand it. And it's we who understand it, and it's we who can implement it. They don't know how to debate it. But 12 years later, we now discover that the pandemic, COVID, is real, and it can happen and destroy businesses. We also learn that climate change is real, and it can disrupt businesses. But we learned most recently that there's somebody called Mr. Trump, and he can be very disruptive. He raised the tariff. Overnight, you just get up and say, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. And every